one of my life mottos is yes and, yes and, yes and. Like we're gonna roll with it, we're gonna go with it, and so in a way that's very similar to saying there are no problems, only solutions. Like so when something crazy comes up, you're like yes, and we're gonna do this now. So the
Oh.
reason I mentioned that is because this morning, so on Thursday or Friday, one of my performers in the show today, they got their work schedule and their job didn't give them today off to do the show. So they had to reschedule. So I had to find a new performer, which was great. I got to work with someone I hadn't seen in a year. It was amazing. She did an amazing job. It was perfect. Then this morning, I wake up and I go to bed early because I'm a grandma, and I had to be up early to get ready for the show. Um, and I get a text that one of the other performers, he had a show last night, and he fell and sprained his knee or something. I forget. I think it was his knee.
Oh
Um,
no.
yeah, and so obviously, like he couldn't do the show. So I immediately started asking people, but the problem is, New York is starting to open back up again. So there are lots of shows happening now. So lots of people are busy and like other people had to work their day job. So they had, other plans already. And so it was a huge problem. And but the thing is, like, you have two choices, right? When there's a problem, you can either panic and worry, um, or you can just, take it as an opportunity to say yes, and now we're going to do this instead. And the problem is that when you just take the time to worry and have anxiety and cry about it, and sure, like, get your emotions out, but at the end of the day, that wastes time, and time is money, and New York is an expensive place to live. So, this morning when I realized, okay, I'm down a performer, I was like, I can either, we need to keep the show the same length. So it's like, okay, I can either have each of my current performers perform one more song, or I was like, I really want to give somebody else the opportunity, because there's so many performers in New York who haven't done shows in months. And I was like, I don't want to waste this opportunity. So I texted a friend and she was like, well, I can't do the show today, but my other friend can. And so then she came and she did an amazing job and it was great. So the point is when problems arise, um, there are only solutions. I agree with your boyfriend. Like there are only solutions, and the solution I think is to say yes and then you just pivot, you find the new idea. And I'm sure the idea of like there are no problems, only solutions, that kind of puts a lot of pressure on the situation too. Because you're like, well, I need to find the solution. So there is a lot of pressure there. I
It
understand,
is fun.
right? I think, and there's that game in improv, new choice, right? So it's like
Oh my gosh.
that's what
Uh,
it is, right?
You're having me go way back.
Like make a new choice, and there's options. There's always options, But your other question was more is like forming like new projects,
I
right?
guess I guess a great example is like, I mean, it wasn't like you had a backup plan for the pandemic
Oh,
happening,
right. That's what you're asking about.
you
Yeah.
know?
No, I mean, so well, but that's a similar situation. Like that is, because so at that point, right before the pandemic, I was doing every other week. I was doing a drag brunch show in Midtown Manhattan in New York, and then I was the other weeks, alternating weeks, I was doing bingo here in Queens where I live. And so, I had those two shows. And so then it was like, okay, I can't do these shows. I still need the income from these shows. So, you know, how can I, and the thing was like, okay, people are at home doing nothing. They're worried. They're sad. They need some joy in their lives. And I need keep doing my shows, for my own joy and for my own income.
Mhm.
Um, so, I have a bingo cage and balls. So I was like, okay, we're just gonna do bingo on Facebook Live. And, but that was a similar situation where it was like, okay, we don't have the choice of doing it at this bar. So new choice, we'll do it at home. They'll play from home and we still have a show. You know, so it's actually, I think the pandemic was a much similar situation to what happened this morning, you know, where it was like, okay, let's pivot, let's just new choice, you know, a very similar situation. So I think that's my answer. Yeah, that's my answer. I
Be
purpose
like, be like, do you think I'm Regis? Is that your final answer? Be like, you sure? For $1 million.
for $1 million. That's my answer.